What's up, gamers, and welcome back to the SuperScope podcast, your wrap-up in this week's biggest gaming stories, leaks, and rumors. We're back with episode 49 on October 9th. I'm your host, Retro Game Dude, and of course, joining me as always is my co-host, Daisuke Aurora of Phoenix Aurora Gaming. Feel free to join the discussion live on Twitch and Discord, or if you're watching this on YouTube, tap and like that subscribe button. If you like what we're doing, let us know in the comments. You can always find the audio version on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon's fine offerings as well. What do we have coming up on the show today? What are we talking about today? We got some Persona news, some Silent Hill news. We're going to talk about the Mario trailer, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then Overwatch 2 having a little bit of a rough week. Not great. But we were talking about TwitchCon right before the stream because there was a bunch of news that just kind of broke out.
Absolutely.
So we had some injuries, it looks like. A foam pit that was like 10 inches off the floor on like bare concrete. People were like doing like a Mario Gladiators joust thing, and they're like eating shit like into these foam blocks. It looks like it's, you know, a soft landing, but apparently there's concrete underneath there. It's not like a deep foam pit. It's like, so they just kind of like quarantine off a corner of an area, and people are getting their asses kicked by the floor. So we had a streamer break her back in two places. We're not going to make the joke.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I get, like, because, you know, I've worked at conventions before, and I get, like, you want to have, like, a fun thing for people to do, maybe.
Right.
But, like, holy shit, this was not the way to do it.
Yeah,
it did not work very well.
What is going on in here?
What do you mean?
I don't know. So what else was going on at TwitchCon? You said there was a bunch of issues. What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything. Okay, and I'm right there. That's my spot. Stay out of it.
Okay.
We assign parking spots now.
All right, we're assigning cursor parking spots on our shared Google
I saw
Docs.
I saw this in like a Google Docs meeting where like they do this with people's cursors so you can see who's in the meeting for attendance. Like you all get in the parking lot.
Shut up! Are you serious?
So you can see who's there, right? Because I can see you moving around. You can see me moving around.
That's hilarious.
So you fucking dot. You put your cursor down. No, so like yeah, it's weird to have like a convention come out and like the first thing you know you hear about after the convention's over is the fucking casualties report. It's kind of insane, right? Like.
At a
yeah,
Twitch convention of all places.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this wasn't. It'd be one thing if it was like a convention for people who like a certain sport or something, and they were all doing the sport and people got hurt. I get it, like boxing or some shit. Like, but like no, this was it was a TwitchCon. It was a bunch of fucking streamers like hanging out and playing around, and and it sucks for like it's part Twitch's fault, but it also sucks for Twitch because on the one hand. It's their convention, so of course they're in some capacity responsible for whatever happens inside their building. You know, they should have checked this better. They should have looked at that pit and been like, can people actually make it off of this thing and not die? Because the answer was no. But at the same time, they probably hand-waved it, right? Because they probably were like, hey, we hired this ball pit group to do a thing at our thing, and they're going to do it. And they were like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And then they probably checked in with them to make sure they were set up and everything, but I really doubt they actually did their due diligence of, like, checking it and seeing exactly what it entailed and everything. Mm-hmm. So it sucks for them, but it's mostly their own fault anyway.
Sure.
So I imagine some dude who was responsible for making sure certain, if not all of the projects were like set up correctly and running and the booths were running and all that, someone probably got fired.
Willing to wager that person didn't exist.
That's actually quite possible.
Anyone who has some like basic understanding of how anything works, you have safety people there that are there
absolutely.
to cover your ass, and you can't like take out an insurance policy at these places unless those people are there.
Yep.
Or you have like a list or like a manifest of those people. Back when I was into like piercings and weird shit back in the day, like we set up suspension shows, we hung cables and stuff. We had people inspect all of that. Because when you have like suspension cables and people are hanging off their back 30 feet off the floor, you have to make sure your ass is covered. Yeah, so there was definitely some gross negligence there. I would assume that maybe even some common sense would state, one layer of foam blocks on the concrete floor is probably not going to be great if people fall off of these posts. And it's like, it doesn't look like it's that far off the floor, but when you take blunt force trauma to concrete with your ass bone, it doesn't take much.
Or anything, yeah. We had people getting twisted ankles, and we had dislocated knees, which is wild.
Right.
All kinds of shit, and like I used to bring my kids to parkour place to do parkour classes, and they had a foam pit.
Right.
You know, yeah, parkour. They had a foam pit there, and like that thing was probably, I want to say it was. If I went all the way to the bottom, I think it was taller than I was, so it had to be at least 6, 7, maybe even 8 feet deep.
They're usually a person tall,
6
at
feet,
least.
right? Yeah, like 5, 6 feet at least.
Knee size tall.
Like full foam blocks. This was
Right.
like because you see people when you see the footage of the woman who jumps off and lands on her tailbone, it looks like she just hits floor immediately. It looks like she doesn't even hit. Like there's not like, and then she kind of rolls over onto a couple foam blocks, and she's like, oh. And then I felt bad because, like, in the footage, like, the people are, like, laughing because, you know, nobody knows she's hurt yet.
Right.
They're laughing and they're telling jokes, and then she's like, I can't get out. And they're like, oh, I guess she can't get out. I guess she's going to live in the pit now. And she's like, no, like, medic. Like, I need help. And they were like, yeah, so I guess she lives here now. And I was like, oh, no, they don't know yet.
The announcer's making, like, some pretty rough... definitely taking some L's there with their shitty commentary. Because, like, oh, yeah, she's fine.
Like,
and then they yell for medic. And it was like... Oh, okay.
Yeah, aged really poorly, really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the thread I saw about that, there was someone put together a whole thread talking about elevator problems, problems with like access to rooms, doors, stairs. I guess security left and right. Like there's people who were like, yeah, we were standing ready, we were in line for an event, and like the 2-3 security people, the line wranglers there, just kind of looked at each other like, how the fuck are we gonna do this? And then they kind of just made us stampede around the convention, and people got trampled. Some people were like there was like a bunch of shady characters who were allowed in. Some security was separating parents from minors by like, well, they like let a couple people in and then be like, you guys need to stop. And people were like, those are our kids that just went in front of us. And they're like, well, they were at capacity. And it was like, okay, but you can't send 2 12-year-olds into like a fucking panel and then force their parents to stay outside that panel.
Right, the guardians have to be accompanied. Like, that kind of supersedes like their capacity issues there. Here, I'll bring up
all kinds of shit.
A window quick of that video.
Yeah.
Pull that up real quick, and we can see. Here. Yeah, this is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Big Simba sense of her own.
You good?
Yeah, she looks like, it looks like she doesn't even get as much bounce as she'd get like on a fucking couch or like a bed or something. She definitely hit floor almost immediately.
She's held down by the pitbull medic.
And then yeah, she's
No, she's fine.
I like how like they go to this guy checks on her. That's great, but like you can hear her call medic, which is a weird thing to be doing.
Like, oh yeah, she's stuck in there, and then like just kind of joking, and then immediately shifts to like screaming for a medic. Really bizarre.
Yeah, I think it's I think the initial impact probably made her like, holy shit, did I just get hurt? Like, you know those moments where like if you get like a finger cut off, you're gonna stop and be like, are you fucking serious right now? Before it actually kicks in that it's like a problem.
Right.
Yeah,
it takes a minute for major trauma like that for your body to really understand the situation. I've done that with I ripped my wrist open on a fence once, and it's like it didn't even start bleeding until like 30 seconds after it happened, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm like looking at like chicken meat, and I'm like, this is fucked up. And then it started gushing. I'm like, oh, this is serious. And it was like it takes a while for that initial trauma to actually kick in. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But like,
you
could tell like she's like laughing at it because she doesn't understand the whole situation, and then her body is like kind of like locking up and not letting her move. And then,
right.
So it's fucked. That's really fucked.
Yeah, dude. That's
Oof,
that was a fun way to start this whole thing.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks Twitch for great content. So anyway, let's move on. We had a good stream last night with Jackbox. Played some new games. We switched up and started with Trivia Murder Party first, and then we kind of moved into Quiplash. Had some new people stop by. Someone from the SCP Foundation website stopped by and played with us. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So that was pretty neat. and what did we play? We played that that other murder game. The weapons drawn. That was fun too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like probably the most successful we've played it. And the problem is like people never see the prompts up top, so it's like the first playthrough is always rough.
Yeah,
it's such a long game because it's like 80% setup, and then once you finally get the hang of it, it's like, all right, well, we're kind of burnt out.
No, definitely. We had robot raps, and we
did
camped up.
Yeah,
we added Chappy Cactus to our lineup.
Chappy Cactus, indeed. Oh, that was a good icon there.
I went back and grabbed him. I was like, he can't fade off into nothing. He needs to be with us.
Well, come visit Chappy Cactus on our Discord right there. Discord link is in the chat. And then of course we're back here every Sunday for SuperScope podcast. And then we're on our second to last episode on Twitch.
Of season 1.
Yes.
Season 2 premieres on YouTube.
Exactly.
In a couple of weeks.
Exactly. So almost 50 episodes in. That's wild.
Dude, we should make a trailer for the season 2 and then have just season 2 like the trailer, like teaser trailer, and the teaser trailer is just like the opening stroll that we do where we're like, welcome to the show, like we've been playing Final Fantasy for the 180th week in a row,
right?
And then like that's the whole teaser. It's just like SuperScope podcast, like
hell yeah,
here's what you can expect.
Yeah, pretty much talking about Final Fantasy, bitching about
Mario,
bitching about Destiny.
Just do the Mario trailer. I'll be Mario, and you can be Bowser, and you just have to say, "I do not," and smile with like the beard, and I'll just be like, "Hey, what's the matter with you? Oh, I'm going to Mushroom Kingdom over here." Like,
I make a
and that'll be. I stomp at the Goombas.
Right.
Man!
So what are we playing this week? Of course, we're playing Final Fantasy 14. Played some
Computer lives
before the show. What's up?
My computer lives.
Your computer does live. Yeah, we didn't really stream this week because you had some technical difficulties, to say the least. Yep. So tell us about your computer and what's been going on.
So it turns out your standard operating procedures for a computer is to not run it at 100 degrees Celsius.
Right.
Because it melts or something, probably.
Yeah. Your processor shouldn't glow like it's hitting the atmosphere, right?
Yeah. Right. So turns out my cooling system wasn't working. Or it was like intermittently working, which is why I would have days where I would have, because you've noticed like there's days where like I'd go weeks of playing Final Fantasy with you guys and be okay, but then sometimes I'd randomly just get a week where like it would crash. We'd watch anime on Friday night and it would crash, or we'd play Final Fantasy on Tuesday and it would crash. And so yeah, I figured it out. I thought this was tied to my cooling system before, but I replaced the fans because I knew that I only had 2 and one wasn't working.
Yeah.
But that was apparently only a part of the problem, and I actually had the whole cooling system needed to go.
I was wondering if even like your camera problems that we've had on the stream, if it's been attributed to that.
It very well could be. I know even like I was surprised because I was running Discord today, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, holy shit! I can move around Discord, I can change channels, I can look at stuff, and normally Discord's extremely laggy. Where like if I click a different server, it like takes a second to click over, and if I scroll, it, like even that, like it was bad, and I just never attributed it to anything other than Discord being weird.
Even like the random choppy audio and stuff, I haven't seen it yet, so we'll see
right.
if that's maybe even attributed to that too.
It could even just be that because the liquid was evaporating out of the cooling system, you'd get these pockets of not cooling where it would rapidly go up and then back down as the water caught again. So I don't know, but whatever the case, I got a new one, I replaced it, and it was very convenient. A hurricane came through, so I just I did like this other thing and I jarred it, and put it in like a jar with a lid, and then I just hooked that right up to my chip, and it's still going. So Ian is keeping my computer cool permanently now.
Sounds like looting a store with extra steps.
Yeah. So now that it's up and running, I've been messing around this week. I downloaded Destiny 2 and I ran the first mission of the season just to see how my computer would handle it. And I think in the menus I have like 200 frames because fucking I don't know. And then but my gameplay was a solid 60 or more, 60, 70 pretty much the entire time. So that's a cool thing. Not that it matters because I played that first mission of the season and I was like, what am I doing? And they were like, oh, we're saving spiders so we can go be pirates. And I was like, okay, well, I did my due for this season and I put it back down. But it makes it a good benchmark, I guess.
I did the same thing for my Steam Deck. Like stress tested the Steam Deck, testing it on Windows to see if it would run on my SD card. So
yep,
it's great for that.
It was good. It was good for something.
Right.
And then we played Final Fantasy and we did some Final Fantasy stuff. I've been playing Isaac with Daimyo Wasp still. I've been playing Isaac. Is it called Rebirth? The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, I believe, is the current name of that game. I know it had different names because they did the Hollow Knight thing where the game came out and then they added kind of expansions to it. Mm-hmm. And the current iteration of the game is the name of the newest expansion. I think it's Rebirth. But yeah, so I've been playing that with Daimyo, and then Daimyo and I also use the tabletop simulator on Steam to play Binding of Isaac 4 Souls, which is a card game based on Binding of Isaac. It's very similar to Magic. It's all abilities and spells that you put on a stack and then they resolve.
How was it?
And
playing it?
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I have it, and I think I have copies of it too. I don't know if I gave you a copy of it or not. But I've been like itching to play it because we could play anything on it, so it's kind of
tabletop's great. Yeah, I downloaded the Pirates game because I told Daimyo me and him should play it sometime. You're more than welcome to play. Have you ever played the Pirates game, dude?
Is it the credit card Pirates? No. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure what that is.
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay, so there was this old Pirates game. I don't remember who did it. I think it was like WizKids or somebody weird. And it's long since dead, but like when it was around back in like the 2000s-ish.
It's the credit card thing. They printed them on like credit card material.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
I love that game. I have it.
Yeah, it is. It's like that same plastic, and you punch them out and you build the ships and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
We used to have a fuck ton of those ships and islands and everything, nice. And Tabletop Simulator has the entire thing supported. You have like
nice
when you load in, it's got like an ocean table, and then there's these chests around the outside, and the chests all contain the different sets, and then in those chests are smaller chests with each fleet for each country, and you can build any fleet you want. It's super cool. Yeah, Tabletop's got some cool shit going on it. But yeah.
Nice. I'll have to check that out because it's great for that because we talk about video game preservation all the time, like board game preservation for one, like stuff like Hero Quest that was like out of print for years, came back into print through Hasbro. They kind of did like their own little Kickstarter for it, and that came out as a limited print. And then something like this where it's like they don't make it anymore, and it's a phenomenal game, and you get the experience that. I really like that a lot.
Oh yeah, so. Yeah, absolutely, it's very cool. And then I mean that's mostly it. I mean, I laughed at Magic this week, but that was a different thing. We talked about Magic putting out $1,000 fucking proxy box.
Oh boy!
Holy shit!
Yeah, people are not happy about that, and I don't blame.
I was dying when I sent you the message, and I was like, "Hey, look, 4 packs, 15 cards a pack, random cards from beta with not Magic backs, so you can't play them in anywhere. What would you pay for this?" And you were like, "What did you say? Like $80 or something?" I think.
Well, here's why I set it so high in the first place, because I knew Daimyo bought some weird collector pack that was already steep. So I was like, I kind of get a gist of like where their pricing is, and it's already a little bit nutty. And when you said $1,000, I'm like, I'm out. That is ridiculous.
I told Alicia about it. I told my wife about it, and I was like, "What do you think this would go for?" And she's like, "What is it going to be, like $40? That's already too much for my blood." And I was like, "That's $1,000." And she's like, "What do you even do with them?" And I was like, "I don't know. I guess you could draft with them technically, but at that point you could just print out proxies and draft with those." Like
exactly, you could easily print out proxies or like buy people who remake them for like home play. And, like I couldn't wrap my head around that. Like who is this for except for people who are looking to? It's the same thing with the fucking sealed video games, dude. Like they're just going to buy them to flip them. And there's
absolutely.
just no inherent play value to these cards whatsoever. I'm over that.
But like, dude, I was dying because we were talking about this, and it turns out a big reason why people are mad about it, and it's a big deal, is because a few years ago, I want to say 5, but it could have been more, they've done an anniversary product like this before, where it was a special anniversary product for beta, and it was a box, but this box had one of every card in beta, and it was $50. So like, for $200 back then, you could buy 4 of those boxes and have a playset of every card in beta, whereas now, for 5 times the price of those 4 boxes, you get 4 packs. And you just randomly hope you get some decent stuff. It's kind of insane. Like, I get that. I get that. Like, oh well, they come in packs, and it's like, okay, but you know what? I don't know if you ever heard of Cube Magic before. Does that ring a bell for you?
Oh. Not that I can think of.
So a cube is basically like, you know those long white boxes that people put cards in?
Yes. Yeah.
So like people, what they'll do is they'll hand pick, like, say 300 cards or some number. They'll pick a number. There's set numbers that you should pick that make it run better. I don't remember what the numbers are. But basically you make a fake set pretty much by like getting a bunch of copies of cards and you put them all in one box together. And then you and your friends play sealed with those. So like you shuffle them up, and you do like commons, uncommons, rares, mythic rare, whatever, and then you make fake packs by dealing them face down into the packs.
Sure.
And then you draft with those. Right. So that's a cube. It's basically making your own custom set out of your collection to draft with.
We've done that. I don't think we've had a name for it back in like 2001, but yeah, we've done it.
Yeah, it got really popular, I think, in the mid 2000s when people were like making like vintage cubes of like a lot of old cards and copper cards.
Got really popular too.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. So people were like, dude, back in the day, like when they put out this product last time, you know, $50 got you the entire beta set, and even if you wanted multiples, $200 got you a playset of everything from beta, and you could literally build a fucking cube out of it, including like multiple commons or multiple rares or whatever you wanted. It's crazy to think that there's going to be people sitting down at a fucking table and paying $1,000 to effectively draft beta and then get nothing from it, like not actually be able to do anything with those cards.
You can't convince me that there aren't like good enough repos out there to play that kind of stuff in your own home.
No, absolutely, dude. I almost wonder how much stuff you could. I mean, oh man, it's just
imagine paying that kind of money for like a sealed booster box like that and not getting anything good, like not even getting like a Power 9 card.
Well, that's the other problem with it being beta product is even if it was real cards, like you know how many cards in beta sucked. Like animate wall, like target wall becomes a creature that can like what the fuck? Combat veteran or whatever his name is, like a 1-drop creature with bad stats. Like,
right.
There's so many bad cards back then in beta that like imagine like opening a pack of beta and you're like uncommon slots. You're like, man, I hope I get a Black Lotus, and it's like, nope, you got like fucking 3 other random enchantments that are shitty and like or healing salve or whatever. Like
yeah.
Oh, it's just
10 healing salves. Yeah, that feels bad. Like I can't not wrap my head around spending $1,000 on a box of Magic boosters in this day or any day.
No, but yeah, and you know the problem though for me though is that there's people in the comments of like talking about these things and saying things like, you know, oh, don't buy it. You know, if no one buys it, it won't sell. We can show them we don't want it by voting with our wallet, and it's like. You don't understand. This is one of those things where they have such a big following and such a community of players. They're going to sell out. It's going to get sold out.
Yeah, but speculators and scalpers are going to buy them up because they know that's what. We already know what's going to happen. Let's face it.
But so I was like, it's one of those things where it's like you know, we've talked about this kind of thing before on the podcast. Like some things are sort of too big to fail without regulation. So a company like Wizards printing proxies for $1,000.
Right.
That's an insane proposition. Like, imagine walking into any other place and being like, I'd like to print fake pieces for Monopoly or something for like $10,000. They're not real. You can't use them in Monopoly or anything. They're just going to be something to hold on to or whatever. It's absolutely crazy that they did this. But it'll sell. You know, next year they could put out, you know, 10th anniversary of fucking Return to Ixalan or Zendikar or something, and like put out like a platinum box with like actual cards made of like fucking platinum, and like it'll be $10,000, and there will still be people that buy it. It's too big to like vote with your wallet.
Use the privilege at this point with this, like cash grab stuff, and we even see it with like Secret Lair. Like even like when I bought those Vaporwave lands or whatever Synthwave lands, I didn't feel good about any of that purchase. It's way too expensive. Lands. Yeah,
like, you know what's a killer? Like. It's funny because they do those lands in those boxes, but then they put out like other lands that are just as good in other products, but it's not the same exact thing. Like I bought some packs, I bought some Dominaria packs, right? And check this out. I don't know if it'll show up in the camera too well, but I bought this pack of Dominaria and got this stained glass planes.
Nice, that's cool.
Cool shit, right? But like, what makes this worth like just coming for free in a pack versus you having to pay like a couple dollars a land, whatever it was?
Right.
It's like it's just the exclusivity, right? Like they could have put those in the set, but they chose not to, and as a result, you were forced to buy fucking whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
It's
not good. So Yeah, playing Final Fantasy 14 this week. Let's get back on track.
Man, yeah.
Obviously playing Cyberpunk a little bit. Still having a good time with that. I haven't really messed around with the Steam Deck too much, but I can tell you right now it's been like my daily driver for portable games since I've gotten it. I have barely touched my Switch. I kind of feel bad because I have a pretty big library for it. But
I'm telling you, Vampire
man.
Survivors.
Oh yeah, I gotta check that
Go
out
back
too.
and it's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Then I picked up some stuff here. I wanted to talk about this stuff last week, but I got a limited run games pickup. I got Monster Sanctuary. It looks like it's like almost like a 2D side scroller Pokemon. We're gonna crack this bitch up live on air. See what's in here.
Yeah, by all means. You know, that reminds me when you mentioned it like that. You ever remember that PlayStation 1 game, Jade Cocoon? I never got to play that.
Yes.
But I had the demo disc that came with a different game I owned.
I love this. Like, these independent game companies all the time put instruction booklets in here, all the stuff that the AAA game studios claim they can't afford to do anymore. And here it is.
Right. Yep.
So, get out of here. It's like, can't afford to do it. So, kind of like almost a meme at this point, but I picked up a sealed copy on the Game Boy Advance of Poker World Tour for like $6-7 with shipping including on GameFly. So if you want the experience of buying a sealed Game Boy Advance game in 2022, head over to GameFly at like $7. Get it in like 2 days. And then I finally completed my Game Boy Advance Final Fantasy collection. This is the last bad boy I needed right here, and that was Final Fantasy Tactics. So I now have all of the complete in box, not sealed. I don't care about sealed stuff really.
Sure.
I want to be able to play them. But
yeah, of course.
Got it in like phenomenal fucking condition. So that'll be a nice little shelf piece that I can play at some point. I already have a cartridge of it too, so we'll see.
Retro, I can't believe you. I can't believe you paid good money for that destroyed copy of Tactics.
Destroyed, I know. It has no value because I can't put it in. It's not in an acrylic case. It's not graded. So how do I know if I'm even going to have a good time?
You may not be aware because you're not big on retro games like I am, retro game dude. But like once you unwrap the cellophane on those games and they're exposed to like oxygen, they oxidize.
Oh,
they must. So that's what I assume happens. By the way, they talk about it.
Yeah, they turn into dust immediately.
Yeah, they crumble.
And then also, I know this is going to sound weird, not that part, but get your Stadia controllers. If you want a nice, comfortable controller, Stadia controllers are stupid cheap right now. There is talks of Google opening up the Bluetooth on them so that you can use them as a wireless controller on things. They do work as a wired controller at this point, too. So hop on eBay. I've found them as low as $15, and I will tell you right now, they are more comfortable than the DualSense controllers right now. I guess you're looking on eBay right now.
I was just gonna look because I was like, I wonder if they're. Because I remember at one point, Steam controllers were what, $10 as like a special deal, or $20 as part of a deal, and I thought about jumping on it because it looks like a pretty neat controller.
Yeah.
And I know like I wouldn't mind having a little bit of everything in terms of controllers, especially if it's comfortable or if it's like ergonomic or something.
Sure. But yeah, I would jump on that. It's just a cheap controller at this point. Invest in it because I'm pretty confident down the road they will unlock the Bluetooth. And even if they don't, it's still a phenomenal wired controller. I can't speak about it enough. But since Stadia's going out of business, might as well pick one up.
No, absolutely.
All right. And then socials, you can find me at Game Dude Retro on Twitter, and then also Retro Game Dude on Twitch, and of course on YouTube, Retro Game Dude. And then you can find our podcast, the Retro. What's our podcast Twitter? I forget. SuperScope Cast. That's it.
Yes.
So you can find us there on Twitter as well. So stop on by. Let's talk about our sponsor, affiliate sponsor. Handheld Legend. Head on over to handheldlegend.com/retrogamedude or use code retrogamedude at checkout. Save $10 off your first purchase, and do cool things like put backlit screens in your Game Boy Color or your Neo Geo Pocket Color or your Game Boy Advance. Put a new shell on it and get a display stand to show off to your friends. It's that simple. If you're an enthusiast like I am, I got into soldering. It's a cool hobby. It's a very utilitarian hobby, so you can do that. There are a lot of no solder kits now coming out for the Game Boy Advance. So if you can operate a screwdriver at this point, you can put a new screen in your old Game Boy Advance, give it a new breath of life, and play it in like a modern setting. So like I said, head on over to handheldlegend.com/retrogamedude, and I get a little taste of that when you make that purchase, and I can reinvest that into this podcast. So please consider it. I did get a couple emails. Someone's buying stuff. I do thank whoever is buying stuff. I did get a couple emails verifying that, so appreciate you, and thanks again. So let's get into some quick headlines this week. What do we have here? Fandom making a bunch of big purchases here. Picking up everyone from GameSpot to TV Guide to Metacritic to what was another one? GameFAQs, Giant Bomb, Cord Cutters, Screen Junkies, Comic View. This is pretty wild shit. Like, this is a big purchase. And typically, like, I'm kind of against like consolidating markets, but this almost kind of makes sense. I'd love to see what they actually do with this purchase and kind of streamline all this stuff together. Be interested to see what happens. Hopefully they don't run it into the ground. That wouldn't be great, but you can kind of see here on this press release they dropped here. Fandom, the world's largest fan platform today, announced it has acquired the portfolio of entertainment and gaming brands Red Ventures, GameSpot, Metacritic, TV Guide, GameFAQs, Giant Bomb, Cord Cutters News, and Comic Vine by combining Fandom's 300 million MAUs, 250,000 wiki communities, and 40 million pages of content, with these widely recognized gaming, movie, TV brands reaching 46 million MAUs. Fandom extends its strategic mission to be the fans' first choice for community and experience. Financials of the deal were not disclosed. Kind of weird to put that in your own press release, but yeah, that's a pretty big purchase. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what happens there. I've been a avid GameFAQs. I haven't been on GameFAQs in a long ass time, but
dude, that used to be my go-to. Was GameFAQs.
Hell yeah, man! That was some cutting edge shit back in the day, because that was like the first real centralized location for like strategy guides or like looking up game secrets and shit.
Remember looking up the
Go ahead.
Yeah, remember looking up strategy guides where people would make fucking ASCII art of the title screen?
Yeah.
So you knew what game it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, good shit.
There was a lot of like creativity that went into that stuff back in the day, man. It's incredible.
I guess
like ASCII art, maps and stuff. Yeah. It's incredible.
Tons, dude, tons. We'll have to see how this goes. I've never heard much about them one way or the other.
I didn't realize they were that big of a company until this.
In response to this, I did see a few people complaining about the way they manage their wikis, I guess. It's mostly just like, to my understanding, if your wiki doesn't, if it's not visited by the owner, or if it's not edited or adjusted over time for like a period of time, like 6 months or something, they'll pull it down, which sucks. But I've only seen like one or two people say this, so I don't know how true it even was, or if it was like a longer period, who knows. And even if it's true, if your wiki hasn't been interacted in 6 months, that's weird to me. Like, I don't know what it's doing if it hasn't been used in 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to question that. If even the owner isn't interacting with it, like not the owner of the company, but like the author. If the author isn't even interacting with it, then
because like I saw like someone was like, oh, I had a game dev project up there and I was working on it, and then they took it down, and it was like, you were working on it? What do you mean you were working on it? Because if it takes 6 months to get it pulled, what were you working on? Right. Like, I get it. We take breaks and things happen, life happens, yada yada yada, sure, but like, I would at least visit that forum every 6 months, probably just talking to people about my project and showing it to them. It seems weird that like you'd let it be basically derelict for 6 months and then be like, not to mention double on top of that, the whole like, I had all my shit in a wiki on Fandom and I lost it all now, and it's like, you didn't have that on your computer? You didn't have that like in a folder on your fucking desktop too? You had it only on Fandom's wiki? That's a decision that you made, I guess.
Right.
So,
speaking of radio silence with devs, you know who I haven't seen on Instagram in quite a while? It's your old pals over at that company I used to work on that game with.
Astral.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to talk about it I didn't want to mention the name, but
yeah, you're good. I follow the old studio boss. Well, not the old. She's still the studio boss. My old boss. I follow her on LinkedIn, and they're still sharing posts from the game there. So I don't know if, although to be fair, I follow them on Instagram, and you're right. I don't think I've seen them post there either.
Right. And that was like where they were posting a lot of content.
Yeah. I don't know if it's maybe like a move in terms of like a change in strategy.
Right.
I couldn't say.
To be fair, I even pulled like posting content on Instagram myself because there's no point.
Right, yeah.
Both the discovery and the content and the algorithm on all three are garbage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I get it if they did.
We've talked here on the podcast about how. Remember, what was it? We had a whole thing where like I popped open my Instagram and I looked, and every other thing was like an ad, and then after like 10 posts, they were like, it just became not things I followed, and I had to like. Yep. There's like a link or something, like a button you have to click right around the change section where it transitions, where you have to like see old posts, and if you don't click that, it just throws you into the fucking.
Hit that in the feed.
Yeah, and it just throws you into nowhere.
But I guess they kind of backstepped that a little bit, and now you can go. There's a tab where you can go like, click just exclusively following or crap they would just want to throw at you, and I obviously don't hang out in that part. I barely use Instagram to be honest. Like
I had to change something like that on my Twitter because I think on Twitter there's like in the upper right corner there's like a thing that's like the sparkles, and if you hit the sparkles, you have home or like what's the other one? You can do like basically the stuff you want to see or like the recommended stuff. Mm-hmm. And at one point, my feed got really weird, and it kept recommending me shit that I don't watch and content creators that I don't like. I follow a lot of people who are political, so like I'll follow a lot of people who talk about things that are happening in political circles. And Twitter started recommending me directly, like people like Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, and I was like, "What? No! Why are you showing me their tweets?
Yeah,
why are you showing me their stuff?" And it's because I interact with a lot of people who interact with like quote tweets or retweets of theirs.
Right.
So like. It thought I wanted to see that, and I'm like, no, I don't. And then I was like, why are you showing me things I don't even follow? And it wouldn't say, like, someone you follow commented on this. It would just say, like, based on your interactions or whatever. So I had to flip that over to the other setting where it just shows me, like, the stuff that I care about directly.
Sure. Yeah, I have the same problem on my personal Twitter page, and I'm like, I do not give a shit what these people think or say.
Right. Well, I had the same effect
when it's like people I follow are commenting on it and roasting them.
Same thing on YouTube. Sometimes it hasn't happened for a while, but like there was a period of time, same thing where I'd open up YouTube and it would be like you couldn't let YouTube autoplay because if I could put on a video like a YouTube Let's Play of Manly Badass Hero playing a horror game, and like 2 videos from that video, it would autoplay me into like a Jordan Peterson like fucking lecture at like school, and I'm like, what are you doing? How did a horror game from this dude? The next video after that was like some politics guy that I follow, and then the next one after that was like Jordan Peterson. I'm like, how did you do that? Like, how did that even happen? It's insane.
I get weird stuff like no matter what I watch on YouTube, if I let it autoplay, the next video is always a Scott the Woz video every time. Mm-hmm. It's great content. Don't get me wrong, but it's just bizarre that it's always Scott the Woz. But
you're like, how do I make breaded chicken? And then YouTube's like, you want to make breaded chicken? You want to watch Scott the Woz? And you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly. All right. What else do we have here? It looks like Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden Remastered. We got some official release dates coming January 19th, 2023. So that is right around the corner, and I'm pretty stoked for that because that is coming to all consoles, including the Switch. So I'll definitely be picking it up there.
Yeah, I have to look into because my daughter's big on Persona, and I showed her that thing where they showed 3 and 4 getting remakes, and she was all excited. And I was like, you never played 5 yet, but it's mostly because PlayStation in bedroom, you get the idea.
Yeah.
But no, she's excited about it.
I'm interested to see if this is going to be like a dual pack, or they're going to sell them separate, and then they're maybe going to do Persona 5 as its own game.
Right.
It's weird.
We might also be getting more announcements on the next podcast because the Persona concert was like yesterday and today. Mm-hmm. But it's in Japan, isn't it? So their time is. Are they ahead of us or behind us? Oh shit, I forget.
That's a great question.
Aren't they ahead of us because they're the next day from us usually?
I don't think they are. Dateline's in between them and Hawaii. So.
So they're behind us?
No, they are ahead of us. I'm thinking
they are ahead of us.
Rotations back. Yeah, they are ahead of us. So, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if they're ahead of us, that means that so today, now it's Sunday night. Their Sunday's over. The concert should have happened, which means we should be getting translations or leaks of like what happened at the concert.
Sure.
Coming up soon.
Interested to see.
So I went to go.
I'm gonna hop on Twitter real quick and see if we actually even got something there.
I googled to see what they were saying about the concert, and this section of the pamphlet has been translated by Twitter user Regular Panties. Okay, and the full translation can be found here. I mean, that checks out. That's a normal. Large number of members prepared for this day. Grand finale of the anniversary. Perform song titles. I don't see an announcement about a game or anything. It just says that the concert happened.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get something here shortly. Oh, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. This only goes up to August, so whatever came after hasn't really been discussed yet.
Sure.
Okay. Godspeed, Regular Panties. Keep doing a good fight with the translating.
No doubt. All right, well, next up, and this is kind of a follow-up to an older episode, Silent Hill remakes have been rumored, obviously, for a hot minute, and now the director of the movies confirmed that these games are in development. So we actually have, this is our first official confirmation of these games being remade, so yay. Everybody rejoice.
Yeah, I'm not a Silent Hill guy, but I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I haven't honestly played them. This might be a good time to get into them with a remake. So, yeah, I'll just certainly be checking these out. Take a look here. The interview that they had with the director Christoph Gans. I'm working on the Silent Hill team. I'm sorry, the Silent team, the original creators at Konami. There are several games in development as we speak. Several. There are even several teams on it. With a big line of games, they will revive the franchise. I think they were really impressed with the success of the remakes of Resident Evil that are evidently exceptional games. So I'll try and post those links to those interviews on the YouTube notes when we're done here. So if anyone wants to check those interviews out, more than welcome to. So yeah, it's good to see that this is finally confirmed and we have some official news on that. So good to go.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. What else do we have here? CD Projekt Red loses a CEO but gains a studio. I think this was probably expected. Just to see some leadership shake up after the last 2 years was probably. It's one of those things that corporations do for PR. It's one of like Bane says, they expect one of us in the ashes or
yeah, one of us in the wreckage.
Yeah, they expect one of us in the wreckage. We saw the same thing with Halo Infinite with some of their leadership stepping down and
whoever.
Yeah. So we also saw, I guess, CD Projekt Red, they're sending their team over to Boston to work on the next Cyberpunk sequel. So we're definitely excited to see that as well.
Yeah. I just hope they learn their lesson. I'm hoping replacing the CEO is a step in the right direction to make sure their pipeline doesn't kink like it did last time.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at with that too. It's like, yeah, we can do this all you want, but if you don't change the culture, we're going to be back to square one with Cyberpunk 2078. That's not what we want, so...
right.
Yeah, let's hope. And then here's an interesting thing posted on Twitter today. Was a life-size Link statue appearing at a Nintendo Live event in Japan. Let's take a look at this guy here. So not only is that statue life-size, but it looks phenomenal. Now,
yeah, that's crazy.
The one thing to look at here is obviously his hands. It's doing something that we haven't seen him do before. So I'm wondering if this is kind of like leaning into the game that we're going to get, obviously, Tears of the Kingdom. Some kind of aesthetic or some kind of like mechanic in the game.
Yeah, so there's a little bit going. So we've seen a little bit of this, right? So if you piece apart the trailers, there's footage of him using this mechanic with his arm to do that drop of water reverse mechanic where he goes up into the sky along the path. And there was another thing he did with it too. I think it mostly seems like it's tied to like ancient tech that they use to do things. Oh god, Claire's gonna buy it.
She's gonna buy it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that should be interesting. I'm sure we'll see some more news of that and what that mechanic is eventually. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of what we know as far as the storyline, the lore, or what do we have going on in this next game. So we'll be interested. They're definitely playing close to the chest with the information in this game so far. But I'm beyond excited. Yes, she is. So there you go. What else do we have next? So Valve accidentally showed this Nintendo Switch emulator on their latest Steam update video, and then it was quickly pulled down. Well, not so quickly. It was actually up for a couple days, and then it was pulled down. So I don't know if they got a phone call, but it's probably, I'm sure Nintendo wasn't thrilled about that.
Oh yeah.
But it's not like they were like, I don't know. I don't know how that gets through like editing and all that, but there we are.
Yeah, it's kind of right. Like that's definitely a goof. That's for sure.
Yeah. A goof and a gaff. That is definitely for sure. So anyway, for the Steam update, well, they did announce some pretty big things. The dock is now for sale officially at $89.99. That is going to definitely do kind of like a dock mode thing for the Nintendo Switch, where it'll kind of enhance the picture. And there's a bunch of settings you can go in there, in their UI, and change all kinds of display settings and a lot of impressive things. There's no more reservations for the Steam Deck either. You order it right on Steam right now, and they'll put it in the mail for you. So that's an interesting conversation to see too, because we're seeing PlayStation 5s out in the wild for the first time.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I posted a couple times in our Discord. I have a game deal section where if I find just like a hot deal, I'll throw it in there so people can take advantage of it. The PlayStation 5 has not sold out on their website for almost a whole week.
Yeah.
So it's let me see if I think I had a photo of that.
That reminds me, I'm gonna post in your game deals right now.
Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, and also they kind of went over some massive UI improvements, overall user experience, all kinds of stuff. You can do like built-in like custom menus. So if the game doesn't support like weapon switching, you can actually program all that in pretty easily. It was actually really impressive. Some of the stuff I saw that has been in beta for a while, but it's now officially in the consumer end of the release. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, talking about the Steam Deck, talking about the PlayStation 5. This chip shortage looks like we're finally starting to see an end of, and that's something that we talked about a couple months ago, that we're starting to kind of see some signs, like Steam kind of catching up to orders, and seeing like Xboxes in the wild, and like PlayStation 5s are going up on reserve a lot quicker, and people weren't scalping. So I think we're starting to finally see this dam break a little bit. There were some pictures. I don't know where I put them, but yeah, there was some pictures of people in like Walmart's full cases of PlayStation 5, the Horizon bundle. So yeah, that's I think we're starting to finally see that dam break with all the production here. So it's good to see.
Right. Don't mind that I had a tail for a second. It was my cat got in my lap. Yeah, no, I posted in the game deals. There's a Nintendo deal going on right now, starting today for this week only. Like a half a dozen Nintendo games for $20 off.
Oh, nice.
Everybody who's the only new one I think is the Nintendo Switch Sports. Is fairly new compared to the rest. The rest are like it's Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Yoshi's Colorful World, Pokemon Snap, Zelda, Skyward Sword HD, and then Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. But they're all $20 off their normal price.
Participates in real. Okay, so it's kind of just overall wherever. All right, so there's 1, 2 on there. I don't have 3. Ooh, okay. Time to buy some games.
Yeah. I figured, especially the sports one, because that one was one of those like, it came out in like of like some other games coming out early in the year. It wasn't like it's not like a AAA title. It's not gonna compete with like other shit. But getting it, and there's probably people who held off on it and were like waiting to see the price come down, and now here you go. Or some back catalog shit too, like Zelda, Skyward, or like
Net Warriors.
Snap.
Yeah. Hyrule Warriors. Not exactly something I'm going to line up at midnight for.
Yeah, but I played the first one at launch, and it's not like it's bad or anything. It's just that type of game isn't super interesting to me because it's just
it really isn't.
Like, yeah, I get it.
It's to all their own, but it's just
no, yeah, exactly.
And all right, next up here, I found something here earlier in the week. This is really cool. This is a Minecraft build from Reddit user ChrisDaCow. Built the entire universe in Minecraft. You can see he built like models of like a black hole, the pillars of creation here, a massive nebula that's like thousands of light years across. We have like a model of the solar system, not the scale. That would have been wild if he did that to scale. But yeah, here's another black hole.
That's super cool.
Then the universe kind of as a whole here. which is build something that abstract is really impressive as a whole. The lighting in this looks great.
Totally, yeah.
But yeah, he did a phenomenal job here. So there's a bunch of galaxies and stuff. Yeah, so I figured that was at least definitely worth mentioning. Great job, ChrisDaCow, for building something that awesome.
Yeah, especially for a cow. It's definitely had to be hard to overcome that obstacle.
With 2 hooves?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The only website he had was the 4 stomachs because he could just fucking load up on pizza bites and work for a whole day.
Yeah, right. All the tendies. All the tendies. But yeah, that was pretty dope. So it's amazing that here we are, how many years later with Minecraft, and like these builds are still coming out, and like just like holy shit.
Dude, Minecraft does a lot of good shit with the educational stuff too. Like, if you're going to educational mode for like Minecraft or the version, there's like a whole periodic table of elements, and you can combine elements and make your own, and then you can combine the elements to make items and things that you won't find in regular Minecraft. And every so often they put out maps. Like they just did one I think last month, which was like 4 maps that are like historical times, where like you get to go through the events of the historical times and everything, and learn about figures and shit. Very cool stuff they put out when they from time to time.
The one Minecraft build that always blew me away was, I think it was called like the Library of Alexandria, or it was like a huge library project. I forget what it was called though. Yeah. But the thing was, it was all like news and periodical updates, so you could go on to Minecraft in countries where like you had like firewalled information, or all the news was government owned, so you could actually go in and find like independent journalism. All kinds of like books that were banned in the country. Fucking cool. So
yeah, very cool.
Very, very cool. So yeah, that's it for this quick the quick headlines this week. Big stories this week. We're gonna talk about Overwatch. You ready to talk about Overwatch? You ready to talk about Blizzard? You ready to talk about Activision again?
It's always like one of the big 3, right? It's always like them or Destiny or fucking
Microsoft.
Or good news from Final Fantasy though. That happens from time to time. Speaking of which, I'll put it in as a quick headline real quick. Live Letter was like the other day. Second half of our patch comes a week from Tuesday, so 9 days.
Yep, I'm here for it.
And it's the Beast Tribes for the Omicrons, the Hildebrand adventure quests, and then the Relic Weapon is tied to those missions as well. And the Criterion Dungeon / Variant Dungeon, and then a bunch of random knickknacks like what did they show us? That spy outfit, did you see that? Like the spy trench coat and hat. They say it comes from a dungeon. I think people think it's the Variant Dungeon outfit, which would be wild.
I kind of want that on my dancer. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. I was just glad to see that it wasn't like a paid shop item. Yeah. Not that they do that very often, but I felt like that was going to be one because it doesn't really fit the theme of Anywhere. But I guess they were just like, we're just going to put it in the game and you guys can get it.
They did one that was like shitty streetwear, like the last patch.
It
was paid for, and I'm like, I'm very okay not having that in the game and having to pay for it. I will never buy it. It doesn't match the aesthetic of the game. It just, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
it didn't look
absolutely.
Good. Didn't look good at all. So, anyway, here we go. Overwatch 2. It did a thing.
Yep.
And what it did it poorly, and that was launch. So, we saw first day, nobody could get on this game. We had 40,000 player queues, and people were pissed. I mean, you can see like all the internet kind of just blew up over this. And Blizzard claimed there was a DDoS attack on it. I don't buy it. I don't know if you did or not, but there was a lot of skepticism even in the Blizzard Blizzard forums, kind of calling this out. And to date, no hacker group or anyone has ever claimed responsibility for this. So usually hacker groups are like, "Yeah, that was us. Fuck off. You can't do anything about it." Radio silence.
I'm going to guess what probably happened was that Overwatch 2's servers needed access to a non-prepaid phone line to function, and they did not have their bill paid.
Probably not. Yeah,
so the servers weren't able to connect.
That was another big problem too. Was you had to verify your account with a paid phone through a contract. They have since stepped back this a little bit with like legacy players, and that's about it. So here's the big problem that I guess they didn't really take into consideration is that there's a lot of people on paid plans, people who can't afford contracts, or countries where countries where there aren't contracts, or
Oh yeah.
so that's a huge problem. You
Right.
can see how that's
Yeah, it feels like it was a good intentioned idea. I get it. It keeps people from doing Smurf accounts. It keeps people from just signing up for free to play and abusing the game. And then because like I was talking to my son about it, and he's like, "Why not have people use emails?" And I was like, "Because I can go make
an email.
Hackerman1888 at gmail.com in 2 seconds and be back in the game." But it also, I don't know, like, because I can't think of what else you would do to make this function like this. It feels like this was the prepaid phone things is weird though, because if someone's really going out and dropping like $40 to get like a Nokia and then fucking put minutes on it so they can get a text from Blizzard, like, I don't think that's a line they had to cross. I think prepaid phones would still be fine. I don't think many people are going to go out and fucking drop money on a prepaid burner phone just to fucking get into Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, you have like maybe a handful, and that's like the thing we've discussed about the other week, is like trolls follow the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And just having the gate for a phone is not only prohibitive already, but people are not like going to go out and buy burner phones to play fucking Overwatch 2. Not at any rate where it's going to affect the overall gameplay to an extent.
Oh, I guess maybe because like couldn't you do like stuff through the websites to do like phone numbers on websites,
Sure.
like text to SMS maybe? And I don't know if maybe that would be a thing that would get through and that would cause problems. I get why they did it, and I understand that it's their intent to like make a free-to-play game without causing problems, and I get all that. But it just feels like maybe there should have been another way to verify.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't think of a better option off the top of my head. They probably had these conversations and decided on what they picked because it makes the most sense, even though it does screw some people over. I just maybe we should just maybe this is a good reason for us to have like a use our social security numbers for Blizzard. I think we should hand over our SSNs.
Yeah.
To prove we'll be fine. Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, just earn some social credits, and then once you have enough.
If there's any company who won't mess with my SSN, it's definitely Blizzard.
Yeah, your information absolutely safe and secure, and there's.
Oh my God. Imagine if it was like Bethesda, like for the new Doom, they were like, send us your SSN, and it was like, what? So you could fucking email it to like all your customers again?
Right.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
It was the Fallout 76 days.
And I guess there was also a bug with auto purchase issues, where it was just accounts were just buying content magically if you're like just mousing over it.
So what was happening was they had a problem. This would be like a programming issue they must have had, where like the game would take controller input, but also keyboard input while you were using a controller. Like it doesn't detect what your input is and then make a switch. Like most games will like check every input you make and determine if it's PC, keyboard, mouse, or if it's like controller or whatever. And a lot of games will switch. So like if you're playing Destiny, then you move your mouse like in front of like a character you can interact with, it'll go from like X to interact to like the E key on a keyboard. You'll see the prompt will change immediately. And then if you pick up your controller and move with the analog, it'll go back to like X button to interact. Because it's always checking to see what your input is, right? Well, in Overwatch, apparently what it was doing was it was checking for the inputs, but it wasn't like checking for the inputs and then like negating it or anything. So like if you were in a window texting in chat, like to a friend, for example, like say you popped up the chat while you're at the main lobby and you were like, hey bro, ready for some Overwatch today? It was still taking all those keyboard strokes as actual menu movement keys as well. And the button to move into the next thing, like the OK button effectively, is the space bar. So when you're typing to your buddy, like, hey bro, let's go play, like it's actually taking all the letter keys, and every time you hit anything from the WASD, you're moving the cursor on the map, on the menu, and every time you hit space, you're going menu in. So you were actually accidentally jumping into the shop, picking a box like a skin, saying yes to that skin, and then confirming the purchase while you were telling your buddy, like, let's go play Overwatch. So, Jesus Christ. Like,
how does that pass QA?
Basically, so that just means the input when you were in that, like, the pop-up that comes up. So you have a thing called focus, right? And what focus is like you're only interacting with that object. So say like on our stream screen here, we have like me and you, and then the Overwatch 2 photo you have up there, which is hilarious. If a new window popped up over us and was like, enter information or something, usually what happens is that UI piece has focus, and only that will accept inputs. Nothing else receives input or does anything with input that it would receive. But for some reason, that wasn't happening. So while you were in a popped-up window to type text, the background of the game was still also receiving your keystrokes, which it shouldn't be. Either it shouldn't receive it at all,
Right.
or it should be receiving it and then being like, well, I don't have focus,
right.
so I don't do anything with it. Right. That wasn't happening. So it's an easy slip to make, I guess, although this seems, like you said, this seems like a pretty critical slip to miss out on. Holy shit.
This is Activision. This is a massive company. I cannot accept that there's any excuse for this. That's why
this isn't like an indie dude who didn't check his covers, his crosses, T's and dot his I's or whatever. Yeah.
This is something that is not only going through QA in house, it's going through QA third party, and this was missed. That's a joke. I'm sorry.
That's pretty crazy.
And
not to mention, this isn't just like, oops, haha, skins don't work correctly. Oops, haha, an item loads wrong, or like a T-pose because of an animation missing. This is like straight up like, oops, haha, people can just dump money and not realize they're doing it.
Right.
Like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, this was posted on the Overwatch community subreddit. Draki Yoshi reported that whilst chatting with some friends while browsing his hero gallery, the game unexpectedly began unlocking, was it Junker Queen's Plutonium skin? As they've been mentioning, writing in the chat. Yep. The poster believes that it's caused by a bug where the text is typed in and occasionally misinterpreted by the game as an input for navigating the menu. And Blizzard seemingly concurs that this issue has now been resolved. However, getting in touch with Blizzard and explaining what happened, the developer refused to refund their 300 legacy credits, insisting that all those unlocks were meant to be final. Adding, if you believe there was a problem in the game which caused this to happen, please be sure to provide feedback via our forums.
If you think that this was the fault of that thing that we said happened and then fixed, that's on you.
Yeah, so
holy shit.
And big integrity move by Blizzard. Once again, fucking class act Activision over here. Horse shit, man. It's so disgusting.
I love the idea of like a fucking microwave company who produces microwaves being like, hey, the new EX Model 400 explodes if you put popcorn in it, so don't cook popcorn in it. But we're making new models that don't do that. And then you're like, hey, I put popcorn in mine before you put this out, and it exploded. And they're like, if you think that's anything to do with what we said, then that's on you. Like, that popcorn was meant to be final. Like, oh boy.
Man. Yeah, there's a bunch of other issues too. I guess there was hackers sending out like messages in the chat with like links, and you obviously don't click the links. There's like an exploit and all kinds of shit.
Sure.
It's just it was a dumpster fire. None of this stuff is excusable for a company this size. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I don't know how this would have happened at this point, and at a launch, I don't know. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, it's definitely. It'd be one thing, like we said, it'd be one thing. The smaller you are, the more excusable these kinds of mistakes are because it happens. If you're a solo dev, I get it. Fucking shit's complicated, but like,
yeah,
these teams are huge, well funded, outsourced all kinds of shit. Like, yeah, must have had. You would think a company like this would have like 100 passes by like different members of different QA teams to ensure everything works 100%.
Right.
Not to blame the QA team. In all honesty, this was probably something they didn't even think to put on like a test engineering schedule to have them check or anything.
Right. Well, it will be now.
If I was on QA and this bug popped up, the first thing I would think would be like, well, yeah, I guess we didn't catch it, but at the same time, how the fuck did you guys program this that this happens? This is like focusing of a UI component and not having keystrokes count anywhere else. That's like video game 101, isn't it? Like when you pause a game, nothing else happens.
Like the amount of this lack of oversight for this to happen is insane.
And again, I get that maybe a programmer made a mistake or botched it, and I wouldn't really put it on them. But this should have been handed up to some sort of team lead or somebody who would have looked at the product in its final state and been like, "Yeah, it works fine." Did you not? Like when you were testing network connection, did you guys not open your hero galleries or the main menus and just chat at each other and be like, "Hey, look, we're chatting back and forth to test if it goes back and forth and we can talk to each other." And nobody noticed. Like, weird. We jumped through menus and shit. Like, yeah, at several levels, anyone should have caught this in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think any one person is probably not to blame.
No,
collective fuck up. So
right.
It's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. And that is our Overwatch 2 news for this week. It's not a game I intend on playing anytime soon, and especially if I have to verify a phone number with Blizzard. No thanks. I'm all set.
Also, apparently, Overwatch 2's new loot system is so bad that it makes people want loot boxes back, which is wild.
Let's talk about that. You seem to know a little bit more about that than I do, but I did see someone on Twitter saying, like, please, God, bring back loot boxes. It's this bad.
Well, because, at first we heard about, I think last week you talked about how the characters it's a free game, but the characters are all locked, sort of like League of Legends style or like Pokemon Unite, where they have to be unlocked over time with in-game currency. Now, the unlocking doesn't sound too bad. A lot of people were saying it's only a handful of games to get a new character, so that's not bad.
It's not that bad. It didn't seem like it was that terrible.
There was people making estimates and saying that, like, in order to unlock, like, skins for characters, certain skins could take months, like 6 months, to unlock. And that...
Because they want
what was it?
It's like the Warframe thing.
Yeah, you get, like, 60 coins a day, capped, I think, and in order to get... You get 60 coins a day, and then some of the skins cost like 10,000 coins. So it's like
Jesus.
You're looking at like 100 days to get 6,000. So 150 days, over 5 months, closer to 6 months. Yeah, you're looking at like half a year to like free to play unlock this skin. And I don't know if this is maybe the most expensive one in the menu, but still, an item that expensive and that throttled of a currency. In no capacity would have. If you ever told me I need to play a game for 6 months to unlock anything in it in particular, much less everything, almost any game I've ever played, you should be able to platinum that game within 6 months, unless like a skill issue, I guess. Like, sure. But no game should be so gated and time gated, literally by a currency, that you can play it for 6 months and not have all the content.
We were talking about like not last week with Destiny not respecting anyone's time. This is to the nth degree,
just as bad.
And it's like we've seen this now with Diablo, like how expensive that is to play on the phones.
Yep.
You can't convince me that Diablo 4 is not going to be dog shit when it comes out at some point.
Same thing. I remember I free to play Diablo all the way into like Hell 2 rank, which is like the second tier of post game. I never paid any money for that game, but that game it slows to a crawl to make progress. Like. I stopped playing it like 3 months ago or whatever it was because it got to the point where I was logging in, doing all the shit I could do for the day,
right?
Seeing if anything even changed, and then being like, all right, I'll come back tomorrow. Like, it wasn't even worth my time. I was just checking numbers to see if maybe one of them went up by one. Like, it doesn't feel good, you know?
Yeah, that's not great.
Now, to be fair, I think they added stuff since I last played, but it hasn't been enough to catch my attention and bring me back. And it sucks because the core of that game is a solid Diablo experience. It would have been awesome to be able to get on there with all you guys and play. If it had just been like a regular fucking $20 or $30 mobile release with a PC version and you let your friends play together and you have like a limited pool of drops and you can actually get your shit normally. Like it's weird to watch what could have been one of the best Diablo games I've ever played personally be this weird... It's like a puppet on strings. Like, people just... The franchise is like this fucking corpse that's being pantomimed.
Oh, sure.
To like, hey, look, hey, it's still Diablo. And it sucks because at the core of it, the actual structure and frame of the individual thing is a fantastic game. And then it's like picked apart and turned inside out to be like a super monetized experience. It's so shitty.
That's the thing, too. It's like the core devs of like Blizzard are long gone. The core leadership of Blizzard is long gone. I mean, Activision got rid of them years ago.
Yeah.
So it's just a husk of what the company used to be, and they're just exploiting IPs for financial gain. And like, sure, companies need to make money. That's their goal at the end of the day. But it's like at the end of the day, if you're not respecting your own fandom and just using them as you're just basically extracting money out of them, then I don't have time for that. And
no,
like,
absolutely.
They're definitely trying to blur the lines between like microtransactions and free-to-play games and bridging it to like AAA titles or larger releases. So then you're on top of that, like with gaming, like on consoles, you're paying $60, $70 now, and on top of paying like a microtransaction store. And it's like they're making the argument that we need to raise prices on games. It's like, motherfuckers, you are already charging out the ass for DLC, microtransactions, a whole 9 yards. Or they're breaking up games, reselling it, repackaging DLC as to sell you a complete game experience and not a extended storyline. We see it with EA all the time, where they take chunks of games out, sell them back to you. It's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So
dude. And that's the thing is like I personally in my consumption habits I'm noticing that like the games I purchased over the last year, maybe 2 years, right, is like either straight up complete in-box games, like I bought Bravely Default 2 for Christmas, or like stuff like Octopath, or I'll get stuff like fucking some of the best money I spent in the last year on gaming was probably Tunic and Shredder's Revenge. They were both like $30 purchases, and they were both not even actually Turtles I think was on sale at launch, right? Wasn't it in the low 20s because it was on sale? Fucking
it was like a pre-launch sale, some kind of weird thing like that.
So I think that one was probably closer to $20 than 30, and Tunic was like $30, I think. And those two games alone, Vampire Survivors at $3, and I know not every game can be a $3 game. I get that.
Sure.
But it feels like indie purchases and $20, $30 purchases have been like my part all year.
And I was thinking about that today. It's like those mid-range, like $30, $40 titles are where it's at right now. I have no ambition to buy like AAA studio games outside of like maybe Square Enix.
Square Enix will get my money depending on what they're making.
Right.
But even that, the thing I'm most excited for Square Enix right now is the remake of Crisis Core. So it's like, and then outside of that, I'm hoping that Ever Crisis isn't like a monetized game in a bad way, so that I can just actually enjoy it. But same thing. Those are some of the most exciting things they've got going on. Yeah, it's crazy. But to be fair, Square Enix is also putting out 84 games in the next 6 weeks. So.
Like that's the thing. I can't even keep my review straight for what those games are doing. It's like I can't remember if was it Valkyrie Elysium or was it Diofield Chronicles that was not reviewing really well. Am I going to buy them both? Yes, but at the same time, it's like which one do I play first? Because I can't remember the fucking Metacritic scores of these games.
Right.
Because there's so many coming out. Bad. I guess it's a good problem to have.
No, yeah, well, especially because like it'd be one thing if they're just putting out shovelware, but they're mostly
right.
They're either mostly putting out good stuff, or it feels like every other. Because there was a little while where like they were doing like hot cold almost, where like one game would come out and have like bad reviews, but then the other game would come out with good reviews. What was it we talked about? We talked about because like when Triangle Strategy came out, that game was like green across the board, but it came out at the same time as like
Chocobo Racing
or something which like tanked.
But it would have been good if it wasn't for the fucking microtransactions and shit. It's like
exactly.
It's almost like there's a direct correlation. It's like you lose your ass risking these microtransaction stores. It's like just release a solid experience. That's all we're asking. It's not that hard.
That's what I was saying. Like with shit like, I mean, I kind of want to run Tunic again because it's really good, and you need to finish that game one of these days. You motherfucker.
Well, if you're going to go back into streaming, I would suggest maybe doing a Tunic stream. I
should, because there's a lot of cool shit in that game that I'd like to talk about from a dev perspective. Like I said, the game's not a 10 for me. I'd put it like maybe at a 9 because there's some random decisions that I disagree with. But we're getting into the nitty-gritty of like artistic design decisions, like, you know, should you put a certain thing a certain way so that a player stumbles into it a certain way? Because Tunic is a very hands-off game, and I don't necessarily like that as much as I think the creator did. I think I do like a little more hand-holding in terms of like guiding players where to go. I'm not talking like pop-ups on screen that are like, boop, the fucking town's on fire, go to this town, and then like mini-map, and then marker, and then like all the doors are shut so you can't go anywhere else. But I like how games like Metroid Dread did it, where like the world's open to an extent and you can go where you want, but the pathways of where you can go always loop to the same area you need to go each time. So they have these nexus points where like there was always 2 or 3 ways into the area, and that was the area you had to be in. So when you kill a boss, for example, and you get a new power, you can go progress the way you're supposed to, and it puts you in the next place that you need to be, or you can go backward. And that backward track will still loop you back eventually to where you're supposed to be anyway. So it's hard to get lost in Dread because the game only gives you the option to go to where you got to go eventually.
Sure.
Tunic likes to do like the old Zelda approach where they're like, good luck. Like, you know, you can tell when you're not supposed to be somewhere because you get murdered. But you also just get murdered anyway. So it's a little harder to spot that. Like, you remember in old Final Fantasy games, you'd go to an area and like, you'd hit the enemy, and it would be like 14, and you're normally doing 130 to these dudes. So when you hit them for 14, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm not supposed to be here. You just pop the triggers and start running. Whereas like in Tunic, like everything can kind of 2 or 3 shot you, so you can't really gauge the difficulty of your enemies on where you're supposed to be. You have to more rely on
getting good.
Well, not even that, because like you can get good and clear a room, and then it's dead end because you're not supposed to be there. Oh, sorry. But like Tunic is I think if you enjoy not having your hands held, the more you don't enjoy having your hands held, the better you'll like Tunic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like a Souls player and stuff, especially because it's definitely up that alley. But I think like it was for $30, dude. It's one of the best game investments I've ever made. That game could have been a higher price, and it still would have been a 9 out of 10 in my book. And even though I'm only giving it a 9 and not a 10, I do want to stress that there is something magical with the way Tunic does old school game experience. It really feels like a game I played as a kid where like you were discovering new shit for the first time. I have not had an experience like that in a game since I don't know when. Because even my favorite games like Final Fantasy 14 or games like older Destiny or like other RPGs I enjoy or stuff like Fallout, even those games didn't have as much mystery as you can get from Tunic. Tunic really felt like original Zelda or original Metroid where like you were fucking lost and you were just figuring it out. And I love that.
It almost felt like even like they took like A Link to the Past or even like the original like Legend of Zelda and like shifted into like a 3D isometric. And they did a great job with it. I can't recommend that game enough, and I really should go finish it. Shakes fist angrily.
Oh, you know what? You have to play before that. You have to play Faith. I am itching to watch you play the Faith trilogy.
Yeah, well, it is the spooky October games month, so maybe I'll try and do that next week. I know we were trying to get some multiplayer stuff off the ground last week. It didn't happen, so I guess we're gonna have to kind of plan what we're gonna do this week here. I guess I should have that kind of information like right before the show, huh? But yeah, I don't know.
It's whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. We got obviously some big news with Mario, the Mario movie. We finally got to hear Chris Pratt's voice. It didn't go over well with the internet. I personally don't really have a problem with it. Do we need to constantly cast celebrities for these roles? I don't think so. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was phenomenal. We heard literally 2 lines for it.
Right.
So I think it's hasty to make a judgment for this trailer. I think the people that freaked out and shit their bed over Chris Pratt's voice were going to complain regardless of what they heard.
But that's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure those were the people knowing, as like when it got casted, those are the people who it did not matter what he sounded like.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet, and this wouldn't have been the move by Nintendo, but I would have thought it would have been fucking hysterical. I would have loved if they had put out the trailer and had the 2 lines that Mario says, like what is this, and like the like Mushroom Kingdom, here we come, or whatever. I would have loved to have had those 2 lines be recorded by Charles instead of Chris Pratt, so that it was literally Mario's voice doing that, and see how many people would still be like, it's knowing that it was supposed to be Chris Pratt, go off of the information that it's Chris Pratt and not what they're actually hearing. Because I guarantee all those people would have still been mad. They would have still been like, oh, it sounds like shit.
Yep.
And then years later, fucking Nintendo could be like, yeah, so we actually had Charles do the 2 lines in the trailer just because Chris Pratt wasn't ready to film yet or some shit. And they would have to fucking eat crow, which they wouldn't, because you know how the internet is. They would all be like, well, why would Nintendo do this to us? Yeah. But like, I guarantee those same people, even if it was Charles and they just did like a bait and switch, people still would have been like, this sounds like shit. Regardless. Yeah, there's no getting around that. Now, like, I agree with you. We don't need to have like crazy, especially it's one thing if like you're doing a movie like Free Guy where you want Ryan Reynolds to be that dude like physically and he's on screen and stuff. But this is voice acting. You literally could have just opened up auditions to the fucking internet and been like, everybody send us a tape and we'll listen to all of it and we'll do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because who knows? Because think about it. Like, one of the ways that you get good voice actors is like you let people audition, and if it's just voice, you can like anyone can do a voice, right? So like, let most people do auditions for. I mean, I understand you can't just let anyone do it, but like, I don't know. It just feels weird that I almost want to. I can't speak to the audition process. I kind of want to see what went on behind the scenes. If they reached out to Chris Pratt and said we'd like to work with you on the Mario, or if like Chris interviewed with a bunch of other people and auditioned and they liked him the most. I don't know. All I know is I don't care about Mario's voice, especially with the 2 lines you've heard. It doesn't turn me off the movie. On the contrary, Jack Black being Bowser, I'm super fucking here for it. He sounds fantastic, and I love that Bowser even looks like him. It's so great.
They did that like real good face matchup that they do with a couple I've seen in the past with other characters.
That scene where they're like, "Do you yield?" and fucking Bowser's like, "I do not." It looks just like Jack
like
Black.
His mannerisms and everything.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
you could have him just say that with that, like make a face and say that, and I would be like, "Oh, he looks like Bowser now." Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah,
they did such a good job with that. Did you see? One thing though, I agree with Claire too. I am pro Chris Pratt in general. I like him. I think he's fine. Well, the reason I mentioned that is because there's this like weird subsection of people who are like okay, to be what's a good word for this? To be fair, to be
fair.
No, not fair, but like full disclosure, I'm not religious and I'm not a fan of religious people in general. Now, not like individuals, but as a concept, I don't like the body of what it does. But a lot of people at one point were mad at Chris Pratt because he's a member of some church somewhere, and the church's position on some political position, I think it was something like gay marriage, is a negative position. And a lot of people started attributing it to Chris because he attends that church, which, whatever. I mean, yeah, I get what you're trying to do, but it's not like he's out here saying people can't be like gay or whatever. He just goes to a church that is a bad thing. I mean, it's the equivalent of like me going to like a gym and that gym is owned by a dude who's like a racist, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can look for another gym, I guess, and that's fine. I'll look for another gym. But at the same time, you don't like go into that gym every time someone goes there and be like, and you're a racist, and you're a racist, and you're a racist. It's like, dude, a lot of these people probably don't even know what's happening, or like they're just in because whatever.
Let's break this down. So there was actually a good article from bossrush.net that kind of addresses this. All these criticisms of people like shitting on Chris Pratt. I'll say it first. I'm not religious either. I don't want to hear anyone's religion. I don't want to hear your religion or what I'm supposed to do with my life based on your religion. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't have people having it. Like, people having their own personal religion is fantastic because for a lot of people it's like a hope thing, and I love that. Sure. That's awesome. But like you said, as soon as it becomes like an outside circle of like not just me and the people who believe what I believe, but everybody, and say, okay, now you're doing the shit that I don't like.
Right. And this country is founded on the idea that you are allowed to believe as you wish, not do as you want because you believe what, but you're allowed to believe, and that's something I'm ever going to step on. Yeah. And as a result, if you believing on this makes you a better person, fucking great. But here's the thing.
Some people, if you follow your religion because you think you're going to go to a better place, or you think that it's like some moral imperative given from above, that's great. But when your moral imperative is like to do harm to people because of their personal beliefs and shit, then it's like, okay, now you've lost me.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
No, it's all right. So people accused him of like attending this Zoe church, and he may have attended it. He's not a member of this church. So that was
so it's not even okay. I that's all I had seen.
Right. So that's the thing. No one's addressing that. This all of these criticisms have already been debunked. James Gunn even went to bat for him, who's I would say a pretty progressive person. And this is a tweet that he posted. He isn't, I know, of the church that he goes to currently. Do you? The answer is don't. You don't. But I'm sorry. Let me start over. But you heard from someone who heard from someone who heard from someone where he goes to church. So you decided, yeah, okay, I'll believe this terrible thing I heard about a celebrity online today. And it also, like, they addressed like his political beliefs. He quoted a Newsweek. I don't feel represented by either side. I feel there's common ground out there that's missed because we focus on things that separate us. Fair statement. Am I going to sit here and say that we should rationalize with Nazis? Of course not. And I don't think that he would either.
Well, yeah, of course not.
And then there was like criticism about him, like his current wife having a daughter, and saying some like complimentary things about his wife just giving birth And that was thrown out of proportion, like he was deliberately shitting on Anna Faris, his ex-wife. And them having a daughter that I think is like special needs, and that was taken way out of proportion too. So it's like all this stuff has been debunked, and people are just this is just team I hate Chris Pratt being pissed off at this voice at the end of the day.
That's what it kind of feels like to me too, because I see there's two groups of people I see online. I see people who are like, I see a lot of people like with your opinion and my opinion of like, I think it's fine. Who cares? It doesn't sound bad. Right. It sounds like it could be any random voice actor and it would have been fine. I don't really care who he is. And then you've got like the people who are like, there's like the people who are like, it shouldn't have been Chris Pratt. It's split between like the people who say it should have been Charles, and then the other people who just think Chris Pratt doing it in general is a bad idea for some reason.
Right. So it's like Charles Martinet has only done like clips. He's never fully voice acted Mario.
Yeah, we've talked about like it's one thing for him to do like one-liners and zingers because that's what Mario does in video games. Like you don't want Chris, like no offense, but like Charles Martinet doing an entire exposition dump as Mario sounds insane.
Do you want 2 hours of "It's a me, let's go"? Do you want 2 hours of listening to that shit? I don't know. I certainly wouldn't.
I don't think that would be feasible.
No,
not just for that, but like. You got to figure how many times you're going to sit there. How many times is Chris going to sit in the studio and redo 2 or 3 sentences over and over and over to make sure this is right, make sure that's right, make sure you can tell that he sounds sad, or you can do the sound of like him getting hurt here, this, that, the other, this, that, the other. Like you're going to have Charles, you're going to have this like, what is he, like 90? You can have this fucking dude sit in the studio and like it's already enough for him to be doing full exposition dumps in the Mario voice that he does. And then you're going to have him redo. Okay. I take back. I don't know why I thought 90. I don't know. Mario's been around for a long time, so I just figured he's an older guy.
It's like his voice is only new to what, like 2004, 2005.
Oh, is it?
On like maybe Mario 64, and I don't even think it was that far back. I think if I remember correctly, he didn't start that voice was new to like Nintendo DS. I could be wrong, but that's kind of where we're at.
I think in my head I associate him.
This is like a new thing.
I think in my head I associate Charles with like the Halo guy, where he's just like very noticeably an old dude, and but still doing crazy good work shit for like his voice. Mm-hmm. But even if Charles was 20 years old, do you really think that like doing this voice for the entire conversations and stuff? Like how do you make that voice do a range of emotion that doesn't sound like a caricature?
Right.
Like. It's just I don't care. Charles is great. Charles is great for the games.
Of course.
I don't think putting him in should have casted Danny DeVito. All right, listen. Oh my god.
I'd be for it. I'd be hella for it.
Oh my god. So we're gonna do twins. We're gonna have Danny DeVito as Mario and Arnold Schwarzenegger be like Bowser.
No, Luigi. Make it Luigi. Fuck
Luigi. Fucking. Mario looks over and he's like, so anyway, I got a fire flower and I started blasting, and then Luigi's like, don't make me come over there, Mario.
Nothing will ever get the image of Danny DeVito on Always Sunny in Philadelphia eating like a fucking hoagie sub and like spitting as he talks, calling someone a piece of shit. And it was just like, that is like such quintess. I would love to see that as Mario. Rum ham.
There was...
Why is that fucking rum ham going, Luigi?
I haven't actually seen a lot of Danny DeVito's work. I know of him, of course, and I've seen bits and pieces probably. But he was in like a comedy movie called Catch Me If You Can. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yes. That wasn't that was based on a true story.
Yeah, that movie was fucking great, dude. Mm-hmm. And like, his role in that movie was hilarious. That's like when people say Danny DeVito, that's the first thing that pops in my head is his role in that movie, because that's what he's most known for me. That and like the gifts of like, anyway, I started blasting or whatever.
Right.
Holy shit, though.
Honestly,
so
I think like if they got like the core cast of Always Sunny to voice act this movie, I think that would be a blessing. You have like Charlie Day as Toad. You have D Reynolds as Princess Peach.
Hey, wait, isn't Charlie Day Luigi?
He is a character in this.
I think he's Luigi.
Yeah, he might be. I think he is. Which is, I was expecting him to be Toad, but well, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Who was Toad? Was it
Michael? I can't remember how to. how his name works. Keegan Michael Key.
Yeah, yeah.
That works. Okay.
I think it's Keys. Like, yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I think overall the trailer looked great. The movie looks great. I don't care about Mario's. I don't care anything about Mario. Seems fine. He's the protagonist. I don't care. He seems like he's gonna be fine. I'm 90% interested to see more Bowser. I love Jack Black's Bowser. I can't wait to see that.
I'm 100% for it. I think he's gonna be hilarious. He's gonna be like the comedic relief of the whole movie. Like he'll be a villain, but at the same time be funny as fuck. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, man. Cool shit.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't know. Well, is there anything else to really spend time on this? Any reason to spend more time on this?
If I was going to talk more about the movie, it would just be that tweet thread I told you about where they talk about the composition, but I don't have that on hand.
Sure.
So we can't really do that.
That's right. All right. Well, let's move on to an old segment we haven't done in a while. It's a cool mention. Let's take a look at this guy here. Saw this on Twitter today. Let's take a look here if I can click the right button. Sam and Chiet on Twitter got Doom to run on Notepad. He's got a breakdown here. I can't play the music, unfortunately, because, YouTube be YouTube. He's like, yep, this is 100% not modified. He's got this thing running in Notepad. So finally, I think, is this the last frontier for Doom to run on something? I don't know.
I'm watching it on my other screen, and it's like, this is insane.
Oh, yeah. He's got it running at a cool 60 frames a second. Finally created the ideal way to play. So, yeah, I'd love to see the background on how that works. That's great. So I would definitely take a look at that.
That's
if you have time.
Just wild as shit.
So yeah.
I thought we'd seen it, because we've seen it run on ATMs and shit too.
Yes,
some weird shit.
Pebble watches, all the watches, all the smart watches. I think we've seen it on a refrigerator panel on those new smart fridges. Just about anything. And I think, like I said, Notepad's got to be the last frontier. What else can you get this thing to run on?
I want to see Doom run on the weather forecast on a fucking channel news.
Nice. I'm here for it. All right. Well, let's move on. We have some Game Pass updates. Let's take a look here. We have this week Castle Quest coming to cloud and console, Chivalry 2, cloud and PC and console, A Plague's Tale Requiem, that is cloud, PC, Xbox X and S, Scorn, cloud, PC, X and S, Evil, that is coming to console and PC. The Dyson Sphere program, that is coming to PC. The Walking Dead and Walking Dead Season 2. And Medieval Dynasty, that is also coming to Xbox Series X and S. So, got to follow up. We finally got some Halloween-themed games like we were talking about last week. We finally got some Halloween-ish themed games for Game Pass. So, enjoy that.
It works.
So, what else we have here?
I haven't played, but I hear Plague Tale Requiem is a pretty good snag.
I'm told it is.
For them.
Yeah, that's kind of I haven't played it much. I've seen some screenshots. I don't know if it's going to be my flavor of thing, but if you enjoy it, knock yourself out. Love that for you. Let's talk about some upcoming releases here. Whoops. Sorry, new buttons. Getting the rust off here.
Okay.
So we have Astiergos, Curse of the Stars, coming to PlayStation 4 and 5 and PC October 11th. Evil, of course, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC October 11th. In Sound Mind, coming to the Switch October 11th. And No More Heroes 3, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, PC. That is coming October 11th. Obviously, the big Tuesday release. And we are starting to see a big ramp up of games for the holiday season. I think this week and last week, we're starting to see a little bit more increase as far as what we have coming out. Fueled Up, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. That is coming October 13th. And I think I skipped Lego Brick Tales. Let's just make sure we didn't. Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Switch, PC, coming October 12th.
Yeah, Lego Brick Tales is paying us a lot to make sure we name drop them.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. The Eternal Cylinder, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S of October 13th. The Last Ori Crew coming to the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC October 13th. Triangle Strategies making its debut onto the PC on October 13th. And Dragon Ball The Breakers, that's a new one, coming to the Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Switch, PC, October 14th.
We'll talk about it after. That one looks cool.
Okay. Is it a fighting game?
No.
Okay.
You'll see.
We'll dive into it. NHL 23, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, October 14th. Sorry, Switch people. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 finally coming. Slime Speedway, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, October 14th. PGA Tour 2K3, PlayStation 5, PlayStation X and S. I'm sorry, did I say PlayStation X and S? Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. Again, sorry, Switch people. October 14th, that is coming out. And Scorn coming out a week early to the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC. October 14th.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
Good run.
I'm out of breath. Oh, sorry.
I'm glad to see Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. That
Finally
completes the trilogy we've been waiting for.
Exactly.
The big thing, people always do like the it equals 3. They're talking about Nintendo Kart Racers 3.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, let's talk about this week in gaming history. Let's dig into that. So we have Pokemon X and Y on the 3DS, came out 9 years ago. XCOM,
God, that feels crazy.
It does, but it's still like one of my favorite Pokemon games, not gonna lie. XCOM Enemy Unknown, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, that came out 10 years ago. That's a massive cult following. Dishonored for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC came out 10 years ago. Dead Space came out on the PS3, Xbox 360 14 years ago. Portal came out on PC 15 years ago. Phoenix Wright Attorney came out on the DS 17 years ago. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door came out 18 years ago. That came out on I want to say now I don't remember. No, I feel terrible. It was a GameCube.
That's GameCube. Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I didn't play. I played the one on the Wii. I really like that one.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Thousand Year Door. Here's the best one. I have not touched it yet, but I definitely want to dig into that.
Yeah.
Mega Man X7, The Battle of Dialogue, came out on the PlayStation 2 19 years ago. Pokemon Gold and Silver Game Boy came out in the Game Boy Color 22 years ago. The Dreamcast launched 23 years ago. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Sega on the SNES as well, 26 years ago. Link Faces of Evil and Zelda Wand of Gamelon both came out on the CDI 29 years ago. One of those rare instances where Nintendo ported a game to a console that was not a Nintendo console.
Yeah.
Sega CD launched 30 years ago with Night Trap and Sewer Shark. The games that would later push for the creation of the ASRB. Super Mario Brothers 2, one of my favorite Mario games, came out on the NES 34 years ago. And Ys The Vanished Omens came out on the Sega Master System 34 years ago. And last, the Pokemon. The Pac-Man came to the arcade 42 years ago. So if you remember Pac-Man coming to the arcades, you have old balls. Congratulations.
Right.
So, that's all we have really for this week. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we go?
No, I think I'm good. Right. I could explain breakers to you real quick, I guess.
Let's do it.
So, have you played, or I mean, you have to have at least seen stuff like Dead by Daylight?
Yes.
Yeah. So Dragon Ball Breakers is a game like that. So the way it works is you've got... No, I think it's. Do I have the right thing? Dead by Daylight is like.
You thinking like Left 4 Dead?
No, I think it's Dead by Daylight. It has like 10 or 12 humans versus like one person who's the killer.
It's 4v1. It's an asymmetrical 4v1.
Oh, really? Huh. Well, it's not that. What's the one that's got like 10 people that are all running from a killer?
Maybe the one with, was it Jason in it?
The Friday the 13th one?
Game?
Well, okay. It's more like that. You've got like, I want to say closer to like 8 or 10 people.
Okay.
And then you've got a villain. And the villain, instead of a killer, it's a villain. And the villains are like the Dragon Ball Z villains. You've got Frieza, you've got Cell, you've got, Majin Buu, whatever. I don't know who else there is to be besides those three, but I know those are the big three that I've seen people using. And so what happens is like you're in like a Dragon Ball style town, like the ones the androids were destroying, and you've got like little vehicles you can cruise around on if you find them. You've got like pickups that you can pick up. Like you can find Dragon Balls, and if you find all 7, you can wish for like the like escape thing, and then you just get to escape.
That's a weird premise for a Dragon Ball game.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. But so it's got a cool mechanic where like you can store up energy while you find like when you find pickups, you can get like energy, and then you can expend your energy to temporarily transform into a Dragon Ball Z fighter, like Yamcha, Krillin, or like Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, one of the bigger ones. And so the player who's playing the killer, if they catch you, they can murder you. Like they can beat you. It's like Dragon Ball Z style, where like they have the punching and melee attacks and the energy attacks, and then you can like kill them. But you can also like if you have enough energy, you can turn into like someone like Goku or Vegeta, and the villain levels up over time. Like Cell starts as like the base form, and then he becomes like he starts as like the actual little cockroach bug thing, and then he turns into Cell, and then Cell 2, and then Cell 3, and as you get every time they get stronger and they hit the next stage, they can pick an area of the city and destroy it, and it removes that part of the game from the match. So like it limits where they can hide.
Interesting.
And then if you have enough energy and you turn into like Goku or Vegeta or somebody, you can actually fight the villain, and like you can't kill them, but you can kind of kill them. So it's like the Freddy's mechanic where like you can kill Jason Voorhees, and he doesn't die, but it buys you some time. And then once there's like a generator in each area, and once all the generators are up and running or destroyed, like an escape thing activates, and you can either get in it and escape, or the villain can destroy it. And if the villain destroys it, then there's like extra secondary escape things for individual people that you can try to get to. But it's very much like a survival horror game mechanic like that. It's pretty much like Friday the 13th, but like with Dragon Ball shit everywhere.
Interesting.
It's really cool, actually.
It's a
I don't know.
premise for I don't know if that works, but it seems like it. I don't know. It's like one of those things I want to like try it once just to see.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I think the core mechanics are good because they're very similar to what's successful already. Mm-hmm. So I think it just comes down to whether or not you're a fan of Dragon Ball and if you'd appreciate the Dragon Ball skin over the game. But I do like the turning into the fighters because you get to pick which your like tiers of fighters are, who you want to be, and that way if you have like characters you like, you can set them as your thresholds for like when you could transform against the villain. But it's interesting. It's definitely a cool thing to check out. I'll find some footage after the podcast because I watched those guys I kept showing clips of doing funny Dragon Ball Fighter Z clips of them saying funny shit while they were fighting and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those guys played Breakers the beta, and it was pretty cool watching them play it because they were being in character and jokey and stuff the whole time. So I'll see if I can pop some footage up after this because it was really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely here for it.
But it seems like an interesting premise. It's going to have to compete with stuff like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th and stuff like that. And if I'm not mistaken, those games aren't very expensive and or they're free. I don't really know. They're not free, right?
What's that?
Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th, I think, was free because PlayStation Plus. Dead by Daylight, I don't think is free. If I remember correctly, I did pay for it.
I know I have it, but I think I got it. I don't think I bought it. Maybe I don't have it. Oh, I think I have it on Epic, and I think it was a free game on Epic, and it's in my Epic library.
That's fair.
So, like, I mean, that's the thing. If Breakers comes out with, like, a high price tag, close to $60, I don't think it sells.
Fair.
So, I'm wondering but at the same time, if they enter the market as a free game and no one else has a free game, they might eat some of the market by just by being a free game, so. And plus, it's Dragon Ball, let's be honest. There's going to be some component of people who just play it because they like Dragon Ball shit.
Of course.
And that's fine. So, I guess we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'll track down some footage of it so we can talk about it later.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up for the night. So if you did forget, you can find me on Twitter, GameDudeRetro. Twitter for the SuperScope podcast is SuperScopeCast, all one word. And then you can find me on YouTube, Retro Game Dude, and of course on Twitch, Retro Game Dude as well. So I do thank you everyone for tuning in, and all the people who are going to consume this in the future. Thank you as well. Appreciate it. If you missed anything contextually in the audio version, make sure you check the video version out on YouTube and Twitch. And we'll be back next Sunday for another SuperScope podcast where we talk about more cool game things. All right, thanks again, guys, and have a good night. And thank you, Claire, for being in the audience, and everyone else for tuning in. All right, take care.